and today we are diving into something major. Imagine if the promise of 40 acres and a mule, a reparations plan briefly ordered or offered to formerly enslaved Black families after the Civil War, was finally honored today.
Welcome to Radiant Genius Podcast. I'm Elsa Mehary, a creative strategist and feminine entrepreneur. Join me and the occasional guest where we will illuminate the path to brilliance in wellness, tech, and business trends. I will be guiding you through the journey of your inner genius to transform you into your most brilliant and badass self. Give yourself permission to live out loud at the brightest level.
Welcome to Radiant Genius Podcast, the podcast where we explore creative strategy, business success, and the future of digital entrepreneurship. I'm your host and creative strategist, Elsa Mehary, and today we are diving into something major. Imagine if the promise of 40 acres and a mule, a reparations plan briefly ordered or offered to formerly enslaved Black families after the Civil War, was finally honored today. Though it was quickly revoked, the idea remains powerful. Land as liberation, ownership as empowerment. So there's so much backstory here, how African Americans as indigenous, the land was taken from them, who owns the land, who was promised the land. It's so complicated and it is deeply emotional. What if every Black family were given land now? And this is also honoring the indigenous populations. What would we build? How would we organize? Could we reclaim our relationship with the earth, with farming, with self-sufficiency? Now, I was raised in the city. I live in New York City. I'm very much a city girl, but there is this calling back to the land that I have been feeling lately. Today, I'm going to explore a fantasy meets reality scenario from the dream of reparations to the tangible truth of rural revival. So depending on how the apocalypse unfolds, real estate might just become our new reality. And let's talk about how Black farmers and land stewards are already thriving, the kinds of farms shaping the future, and where in the world Black folks are building abundant, rooted lives in the countryside. So the Black migration to the South and even to the continent of Africa, I refer to Africa as the continent, for those who are not familiar. It's already happening. And because of a lot of things happening in this country that are perhaps uncomfortable, in quotes, people are leaving cities and moving out, but there are a lot of people moving to the South where there is this sense of abundance, wealth. In recent years, we've seen a major shift in Black migration patterns, a reversal of the Great Migration. Black families, entrepreneurs, land stewards are leaving cities in the North and returning to the South, and many to land that their grandparents and great-grandparents owned and passed down. People are reclaiming this land and reestablishing thriving rural communities. Some people never left. But some people are now creating more profitable experiences on this land. Charles Below has a book or documentary, South to Black Power, where he explores the shift in depth, highlighting how Black Americans are moving back to southern states, not just for economic reasons, but to reclaim power, land, and a sense of ownership over their futures. Moving to the South, why would you? Lower cost of living, more access to the land, chance to rebuild Black wealth outside of urban centers, a return to self-sufficiency, farming, food sovereignty, economic independence. Cities are becoming rather treacherous at this time for many reasons that I won't speak on. But we are shifting away from the political disenfranchisement that's happening in northern cities. Living in cities now is becoming more chaotic in some places. And there's this promise that is possible for progeny, for present and for progeny of a more stable existence, a more sovereign existence. So we have the rise of Black farmers and land stewards. Black farmers are making a comeback despite systemic land loss. I'm going to also be talking about the types of farms and sustainable businesses that are thriving in case you want to, set up a vision game plan. The movement toward regenerative agriculture, co-ops, and collective land ownership. And where in the U.S. and a little bit abroad, Black folks are finding success in rural living. So I grew up going to Georgia to visit my American side of the family, and they all lived in the city. So it was Atlanta, different parts of Atlanta, and then we would visit like the country house that my grandparents grew up in, and it was like a stop along the way. I couldn't even tell you where it was, and I remember when I was little, really being relieved to get back into the air conditioning, get back into the city, and so I don't know how many of you have this history where you would you live in the north and you visit the south and you visit the family. And it was an interesting experience, one that I remember I never thought that I would ever consider. And there's one thing to move to the south and be in the city still with all your friends from New York or wherever, DC, that also moved to that same city. And it's another thing to create a sustainable community on a farm or in a rural area. Like, what is that even like? So if we had promised land today, how would we design our own thriving communities? Let's talk about it. So before I go forward talking about that, I just want to nod to the historical context of the phrase 40 acres and a mule. It originates from a short-lived policy in 1865 that claimed to or aimed to redistribute land to formerly enslaved African Americans after the Civil War. The origin: there was a special field order number 15. Union General William Tecumseh Sherman issued this order during the Civil War. The order set aside 400,000 acres of confiscated Confederate land along the coast of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida to be redistributed exclusively to Black families. Now, this is not to say that no one got their acres. A lot of people got their acres. There were properties in Georgia and Florida that were exclusively Black. America Beach, for example, is one which I think has now gone through a lot of shifts, and it was beachfront property. It was collectively all Black owned, but each family was to receive 40 acres. And with that, this General Sherman later ordered that the Army would provide mules to help with farming, lending to the phrase 40 acres and a mule. So after the Civil War, 4 million newly freed Black people were left with no resources, land, or economic opportunities. And Sherman's order was influenced by meetings with Black ministers, particularly Garrison Fraser, who stated that land ownership was crucial for Black freedom and self-sufficiency. Okay. Obviously, that did not happen. The collapse of the promise after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in April 1865, his successor, Andrew Johnson, reversed the policy. Johnson, who sympathized with former Confederates, ordered that the land be returned to white Southern landowners who had previously owned enslaved people. So, and now we know this left many Black families without their land, forcing many people into sharecropping. And here we are today. Long story short. So the long-term impact of this, obviously, of this broken promise set the stage for systemic economic disparities between Black and white Americans. And this land ownership remained limited and precarious, with some successful communities, but led to the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre and Jim Crow laws that prevented, that suppressed Black economic independence for those communities that were prosperous and successful. So this phrase has ultimately become a symbol of unfulfilled reparations and the continued struggle for Black economic justice in the United States. And so I want to talk about, moving into the present, how farming is becoming big again. So there are 4 types of farms that are trending right now. And this is what I've observed, and this is not necessarily amongst my cohorts. I might be the first person I'm thinking about farming. I do have a few people that I know that have moved to a farm in the north, with very specific difference, and are living this sort of alternative life. And so it's really exciting to see. So as more Black folks are reclaiming land, reconnecting with farming, I just joined a community farm myself. Super excited about that here in New York, and super small plot. That I don't think the entire community garden is on maybe 1 acre or something. I'm not even sure. And then there's inside like 10 different small plots that some are split up. And so it's definitely city farming, but it's a beginning. So these are some of the most sustainable, profitable, and community-driven farm types emerging today. The first one is regenerative and no-till farming. The second is medicinal and herbal farming. The third is agritourism and retreat-based farming. And this is the one that a lot of Black women are getting into. It's like, I can't wait to visit some of these places. And the fourth one is urban and Peri-Urban Farming. And so this is kind of a little bit what I'm doing with the community farm. It's best for city dwellers transitioning into farming. So let's go through each one. So the first one, regenerative, no-till, is best for soil health, sustainability, self-sufficiency. So this is focused on soil regeneration, composting, which everybody should be composting now. I know it's happening here in New York. I don't know about the rest of the country. This is a national effort. And the crops are fruits, vegetables, cover crops, and livestock. And this is thriving in the U.S., in the South, Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, where there's rich soil and long growing seasons. And then the Midwest, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, where there's affordable land and water access. There are all kinds of resources on social media that basically help you buy a farm for like very, very little money. And then there's a course to help you set up and like get loans and all this stuff. It's wild. So there's this whole movement. And abroad, Ghana, Brazil, South Africa for farms. And Kelis, I think she has started a farm in Ghana. And I think or South Africa, I'm not sure exactly which one, but then she had one in the States as well. I'm surprised Costa Rica's not on this list. The second, medicinal and herbal farming. Now, there are a lot of these in the north already. There's so many great farms in the north that you can go and get like a health pack of medicinal herbs for the season. Really incredible. If you're looking for any of that stuff, I would recommend researching instead of getting from Whole Foods, for example. You could be supporting a local farm. So this is the popular one. This is for wellness retreats, apothecaries, holistic healing. This is, I think, one that I would probably do. This speaks to me. So this is when you're specializing in medicinal herbs, teas, plant-based wellness products. It could be, anything lavender, turmeric. I could see, honeybees. You can be selling honey, elderberry, chamomile, ashwagandha. So in the South, this is thriving in Louisiana, Mississippi, and South Carolina. So these are strong herbalist communities. In the Pacific Northwest, we have Oregon and Washington. And this is mainly because of the climate, which is ideal for medicinal herbs. And then internationally, Jamaica, Mexico, and Morocco. Okay. So the third one, agritourism and retreat-based farming. So this is best for hosting events, workshops, cultural experiences. And I wish I would have added how much acreage you need per each, but a starter pack, you'd only need 4 acres or whatever. But I feel 1-2 acres to start, and then you can go as big as you want. So this type of farm, this merges farming with hospitality and wellness retreats. So this is kind of like a hybrid from the first one or the second one. Instead of it just focusing on herbal farming, which I imagine would be sort of like a daytime thing. You can just get your products from there. This is overnight. This is really an integrative experience, healing, cultural experiences. So this is merging farming with hospitality and wellness retreats. Could be glamping, eco lodges, farm stays, educational workshops. And in the US, this is thriving on the East Coast actually as well. Virginia, North Carolina, Maryland, proximity to major cities. And I went to a glamping, what is it called? Under Canvas. And so beautiful. Really, the one that I went to was in Utah, near Arizona. It was you could see Arizona across the canyon because we were right on the edge of the canyon. So amazing. I wouldn't consider it a farm necessarily, but possibly because I don't think they grew any herbal, or I don't think they grew anything, but it's possible. I just, maybe didn't see it. And on the West Coast, California. And so these are, again, eco retreats. Internationally, really big in Belize, Costa Rica, and Kenya. Number 4, we have urban and peri-urban farming. So this is best for city dwellers transitioning to farming. This is farming light. So this is focused on, I don't really know if you can do farming light. It's probably all a lot of work. We shall see. I'll get back to you after my community garden. I haven't started it yet. I just joined. But this focuses on high yield, small space farming near urban centers. This is container gardening, hydroponics, rooftop farming, microgreens. There's actually a very cool space around the corner in Prospect Heights that is one of these microgreen places. It's a microgreen / brewery / workspace, and it's really beautiful and very cool. And, it's right in the city. And obviously rooftops, there's a bunch of them. So this is all over New York. So in the Northeast, obviously New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts. So this is, again, city-based farming and what I'm doing as well. In the Midwest, Chicago, Detroit, these are big centers for urban farming pioneers. And internationally, the UK is big, the Netherlands are big, Rwanda is big. And so Black farmers and land stewards are thriving on social media. So obviously my girl Kelis, who I've been following her journey, and it's amazing. And literally, like, she just looks great. Like, the before and after, she could just do a whole sort of marketing campaign based on, look at me now. And I think she's in her mid age, 40s, 50s, I don't even know. But she looks like she did at 25. And if that's not a call back to the land, I don't know what is. And her Insta, bounty and full, but you could just Google to find Kelis. So obviously Kelis was a big pop singer, and she's famous for her Milkshake song. She runs a self-sustaining farm in California. And again, she now has moved and opened an additional one in Ghana. And she's growing organic produce. She has her whole herbal care line. She's raising animals. She's crafting artisan food products. She has a hair care line. She's living best life. I mean, she always looks happy and glowing. And, she never talks about how hard it is, but, I'm sure there's some challenges. Ron Finley, his handle, Ron Finley HQ. He's known as the Gangsta Gardener, and he transformed urban farming in Los Angeles to peak experience, providing food sovereignty. And this is literally in the middle of the city. So he's an icon. There's a bunch more people. Tony Jones at Hood Honeybee Farm, Black woman beekeeper. I'm definitely, if I want to farm, I'm trying to have bees. I'm learning about beekeeping now at my community garden. I'm super excited. A little scared, not gonna lie. But Tony is teaching Black communities about pollination and sustainability, and we all know how important bees are to the planet. We would not be here. We all know this. Farmer C, CEE at Green Heifer Farms, owner of a Black woman-led medicinal herbal farm in North Carolina, specializing in tea blends, herbal healing. It's like if you just follow one or two of these people, you will find the rest of the community. And it's just an interesting space, a deep dive to open your mind into what is possible, like what is a different experience. And obviously I'm talking to my city folks who we have been deep in maybe the corporate grind. And it's like, what would it look like if I explored another arena on the land? And, if you want to keep that youthful glow, I'm like, country living might be for you. And so Black farmers and landowners, again, geographically are thriving in Georgia, North Carolina, where there's fertile land, there's strong community networks. They literally have classes that you can take. They'll set you all up. It's like, and people are so open with this information, not like some industries. I came from a very gated beauty fashion industry, even jewelry. It's like no one would tell you anything. Like, how do I find a manufacturer? It's like, oh, I have a guy, but I don't know. Or fashion, it's like they're not letting you in the door. Like farming, completely different experience. People are wanting you to learn. They're teaching you about herbs, why it's important, their classes. It's very different, and it's a beautiful thing to see. Tennessee and Kentucky, affordable land, and a growing number of Black homesteader communities. Texas and Louisiana. And these places have historically rich are in Black agriculture, with land being reclaimed still. A lot of folks are figuring out how to reclaim their land that they have lost. And this is something that is really beautiful to see. Missouri and Oklahoma, again, I'm not gonna lie, like coming from the north, there's some places in the south that I'm like, I don't know, is it safe? You know what I mean? I remember going to Georgia. I think it was Georgia, the American Beach. space that was all Black owned. And, there were white families there as well. And I was walking on the beach with a friend, and everybody was so friendly. Everyone said good morning, which does not happen in the Northeast. I mean, I don't know. But I was like, what's going on? And my friend was like, everybody speaks. Everybody says good morning. And I'm like, really? Are they really? Because it's almost this like, is this authentically friendly? So I still haven't figured that out because, but I got to learn the ways. I gotta know, but just understand culturally. I always want to know, like, what is the culture like in this space? It's all cute to buy a farm somewhere and move there, but then not understand the culture and moving in a way that does not protect your boundaries, let's just say. And internationally, Ghana is really big because of the Year of the Return movement that happened, I think, a little bit prior to 2020. That was a celebrity fest that kicked off. Not sure really what happened, but it opened the doors to really Black folks understanding, like, oh, you know what? Like, West Africa, Ghana especially, they will pop a passport out, a citizenship out. Like, we can come here and like build a whole new way. And with the support, really, and the people support. And again, beautiful to see. Belize, that's where we're going to have the tropical agritourism happening. You can have the affordable land, thriving ecotourism, and it's Black expat friendly. Brazil. Oh, so much in Brazil. Half my Instagram now is Brazil. A lot of my listeners are from Brazil. I can see on my analytics. I need to learn some Brazilian so I can like mix that in with the language. There's large Afro-Brazilian communities reclaiming land in Brazil. Like, what part of Brazil? I have to research, like, where in Brazil. I've only been to Brazil once. I went hiking for a week in the Amazon, and it was monsoon season, and it was wild. Like, I had to have recovery after that trip, like, really and truly. But it was so beautiful. It was Ilha Grande. It was near Rio. I did like shopping in Rio for a day, whatever, then was in the jungle the rest of the time and then came back. So I haven't really fully explored Brazil, but I really would love that. And then we have Jamaica and the Caribbean. Strong herbalist culture. Like, we already know our Jamaican herbalists are just amazing. Farming opportunities there, wellness tourism there. Jamaica is beautiful. Different parts of the Caribbean also really accessible. Our people are there. We're welcome there. And so really it's about acquiring land affordably. Government programs, which I'm like, I don't know about that anymore. But, it's day by day. Everything is, changing. So could still be some stuff available. Grants, auctions, and a lot of creative strategies because, you just have to dream a world that will help if you want to be a landowner, reclaim this land and build a thriving community. There are all kinds of government programs to acquire land for cheap. And again, I recommend taking a class. Like, if you see something, just speak it into your phone. And the algorithm will just help you out and just like, sponsored content. And then you investigate and find what really works. But, farming, a retreat space, sustainable living, set up a tiny home for young people, older people. Like, there's so many opportunities. This is really dream a world now. We are like building the next new after the full collapse. Like, really, that's where my mind is like, what does it look like after? I'm not focused on that because, like, as far as I'm concerned, it's done and done, right? I'm looking into what are we building now? I'm a builder. I am a master builder. So there's government land programs, grants. There's land grant opportunities for Black farmers. There's homestead and free land programs. There's land bank programs where you can find vacant or foreclosed properties. There's buying cheap land through auctions and tax sales. I mean, there's so much. I'm going to do a PDF attachment for this that'll be linked in my Gumroad that you guys can download that will have all of the detailed information. And really, I recommend hiring an urban agriculture consultant to help you get set up, explore your options, really working with someone, almost like you would do anything else, right? Like a real estate ambassador. Like, I'm looking for this here, what are my best options? Because there's a whole long list of things that you have to do once you even get the land, and figuring out like your soil, what can happen on that land. If you want to raise cattle, you got to figure out, what's the best place. I'm definitely not doing that. So enjoy. And there's workshops. You can visit some tourist farms. The most inspiring thing is to see someone else who's done it and you're speaking to them. And it's like, you know what? If they could do it, I could do it. I went to this llama and alpaca hike with the Outsiders NYC. Shout out Outsiders. This is my adventure group that I hike with. So fun. If you're looking for a great group of people, and on Instagram, they're Outsiders NY. So we went to this alpaca farm where you literally just like walk through their 60 acres with the animals. And they're all different personalities. They're all super sweet. And then, you hear the story of like how they started the farm. They were both, I think, Wall Street folks. It's a husband and wife. They have 2 daughters that are in college. They were like, we had to learn everything. They bought the farm from this German family, and like the other family members still live nearby, that they see. And just their story is so interesting. And it's like, they're regular people, basically. And I think they said it was right after, like during the pandemic or right after, they needed to get out. So they were just like, let's just do it. And the husband was like, my wife does everything. I'm just here. And I mean, also super inspiring, because you just think like, oh, it's probably the man that's doing everything. And the classes that she set up, and like brainstorming that they were going to do these hikes to bring in money, they had to figure out how to make it sustainable, how to make money. Like, he was really vulnerable and transparent and shared how they had to figure it out and how they're doing, and they're really happy. It's amazing. It's amazing. And so if you're really thinking about making land ownership a reality, being a land steward, acquiring land isn't just about owning property. It's about reclaiming wealth, creating self-sustaining Black communities, ensuring further future generations have a place to grow and thrive. And so, in closing, imagine if today every Black family was given 40 acres. What would we build? How would we create thriving, self-sustaining communities? And the reality is, we don't need to wait for reparations to reclaim our connection to land. Many people are already making the move, already providing both independence and wealth. The shift is happening now, and it's time to be a part of it. If this episode inspired you, share it with a friend or family member thinking about land ownership. Let's continue the conversation on reclaiming our rightful place on the land. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Radiant Genius Podcast. Until next time, keep shining, keep creating, and remember, you don't need permission to be brilliant.
Thanks for listening, sending soothing calm to your nervous system. Hit subscribe and join me on this feminine-led entrepreneurial journey. The Radiant Genius Podcast, where we discuss all things brilliant.